Don't say that about yourself. I don't like that.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Brennan Tassif is Your Ex-Drinking Buddy. I'm your host, Brennan Tassif. Quick rundown of the show if you're new. I used to drink a lot and rant and rave and talk shit with my friends. I don't drink anymore, hence the ex-drinking buddy, but I still like to talk shit, rant, rave, talk about old drinking stories and stuff like that. Still like to do it with my friends, too. Sometimes I will do it by myself, but I'm actually joined today by a very special guest, a very good friend of mine who's leaving us in the Jacksonville comedy community. You've heard him before. It's Dallas Nelson. What's going on, man?
Hi. Oh, man, it's so good to be here. I miss you.
I miss you, too, buddy. Plug everything you want to plug up front, Instagram, all your social media, anything like that. You got any shows coming up?
No shows coming up because of COVID apocalypse. But look me up on Instagram, Atlas_vaped. Look me up on Facebook, Dallas James Nelson. I use the 3 names because I'm pretentious. And then I'm looking for a Twitter handle. I thought it would be cool to be Apple Wasps, but I think that one's taken.
All right. Well, it's good to have you back on the show. We had you on last time. You talked about what it was like to grow up in kind of a Southern Christian household, and then you told us about, if you haven't listened to it, you should go back and listen to Dallas's first episode. We talk about being gay in the military and getting into some trouble, drinking in the military, an urban legend that is floating around the west coast of the country because of you.
Yeah, dude. I actually forgot something really funny about that story. So for anybody listening, the story is that a really drunk Marine hit me because he thought that I was flirting with his girlfriend, which I don't know if you guys can tell from the tone of my voice, but I am very obviously a bullied kid. But I forgot a story in that after he hit me because I wanted to be tough, I was like, did I just get fucked? Like,
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. I called a friend of mine. He listened to it and told me that, like, you forgot the best part, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know. But I was on AMFs, audio smotherfuckers, whatever those were.
Yeah, those are good drinks.
Oh, no, they're not. Anything that's neon is designed to fuck you up.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's definitely for sure.
Yeah. Dude, I love neon drinks because I feel like they just remind me of the 90s.
Oh, I thought you were going to say because they feel futuristic.
No,
You went the other way.
No. Like that. Have you ever heard of retrofuturism?
No.
Okay, so it's like that idea that like the
Is that like steampunk?
No, retrofuturism is like, you know, when you look at like magazines of the 50s and they're like, in the future, everyone will be wearing silver. Like, I think that neon drinks are like a holdover from the 90s because the 90s, like, they thought that was like the future, that everyone would have like these bubbly drinks and like rings.
Well, you can see it in a lot of like sci-fi and stuff. Science fiction, they have a lot of the drinks, like if they go into bar scenes and stuff, a lot of the drinks are like these bright neon colors.
Yeah.
See, we're learning something new with Dallas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I'm just a huge nerd, man.
You and me both.
I don't know. Wait. So, Brennan, I've always been curious. Why
Dallas is now taking over the show.
I am. Wait. Why did you do comedy? Why do you think we're comics?
Why do I think we are comics, or why did I get into comics?
Yeah. Why are you a comic?
I talk about this on episode 1, I think, but the short version is, I feel like, I don't know, I see things like with the stories that happen to me and the things I see, just observe in daily happenings. I don't know, I just feel like there's certain things that it's like, is anybody else seeing this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the short version is, I always reference that scene in Jerry Maguire where he said I had so much to say and no one to listen. And I think comedy, for me, has always been, my sense of humor has always been a coping mechanism, a defense mechanism. And now that I don't drink and do drugs anymore, it's like my only defense mechanism. Like if anything happens, I always think like, how is this funny? And I don't know, I just want to share that with other people. A big thing too is that, you know, after almost dying 3 separate times from alcohol poisoning and the DUIs and, you know, my masochism when I used to hurt myself, a big thing is I want to be able to show people like there's humor in all of that.
Yeah.
Like,
Guys,
That's
this is a very light podcast. I
yeah.
love it.
We're gonna be super light. No, but my biggest thing is that I want to show people, and the reason why I am so passionate about it, and why I always say there is no plan B, like it's comedy. Whether I'm scraping by on like $50 a show, like every once in a while, or something happens with comedy, it doesn't matter because this is the track. Because my biggest thing is that I know when I was a kid, and I still suffer from my anxiety and depression and stuff. But when I was a kid, and my cousin Tom showed me stand up comedy. Comedy Central Presents. He used to record them when they would air on VHS, and then I started doing that. And I remember some of the comics, like Mitch Hedberg and Tom Rhodes, and even Stephen Lynch, and some of these guys from back then. I would watch them, and I was like, oh, some of the stuff they're making fun of is like the way I feel.
Yeah.
And we're laughing about it now.
Well, the great thing about comedy is it's basically like Mecca for sad white guys.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, there's just because if you think about comedy, it's just saying stupid things in a mic, and that's really what sad white guys. Like, oh man, like you have to be privileged enough to be like, I want to say something dumb, and
Yeah.
people should be listening.
Well, and it's like that scene in any wedding where like the uncle or like the second cousin is like, I want to say something, and it's like, you're not giving a toast, and you're like, no, I want to say something and people need to hear it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, to your point, that's kind of what comedy is it's just a bunch of us being like, I have something to say, and they're like, no, nobody really wants it. It's like, I have something to say. But
oh man, burn that light again.
yeah, but that's truly why I'm so passionate about it. And it's funny because my co-host from my other podcast, my sports podcast, Cheers from the Press Box, check that out if you like listening about two idiots ramble about sports. But my co-host pointed something out because he's going back and re-listening to every episode of this show. And he was like, it's funny, in the first couple episodes, you talk about how you used to get drunk on stage and be an asshole, basically. And now when you have guests on, you're always like so against like open micers who get up drunk and have nothing to say and they're just kind of rambling. He's like, you used to do that. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm a huge hypocrite. Like, I don't know what you want from me.
Yeah, dude, we're comics. We are awful human beings.
Yeah, but it's one of those things too where, and I know I've talked to you about it on this show, and I've talked to a few people about it, but the reason why I get so passionate now is everything that happened in the last few years, I'm very much like, well, this is it. This is all I'm gonna do.
Well, I mean that's just everything, though. I think the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that, like, don't be ashamed of what you had to do to survive, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't realize, like, everybody just kind of wants the pain that they had in their life to be the good pain.
Yeah.
They want it to be like, no, the thing that hurt me actually made me stronger.
Yeah. Well, and it's a weird thing because I think, you see those memes all the time where it's like, oh, if you could go, you take this pill, you get $10 million. You take this pill, you go back to when you were 10. Or, people always pose that question of, well, if you could go back with all the knowledge you have now to, and start all over, would you? And for me, it is very much like, well, I mean, I would want to with everything that I know. But at the same time, like, I wouldn't be, like everybody fucking says, I wouldn't be where I am had none of that stuff happened. But it's weird because, like, I think back on, like, past relationships that I've destroyed and, my body that I destroyed and, like, certain situations I found myself in. And I'm like, yeah, it would have saved me a lot of trouble to not do that. But some of my best material comes out of that, like my scar story about cutting my own face open.
Well, I don't know. I always think about, like, going in the past and living a different life, and I always to nip that in the bud because it's really bad for depression. I just imagine that in that timeline, I would still just kill myself.
What time? All right, found it. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
You have a really funny joke about. I know suicide is not something you should joke about, but because Dallas and I are both diagnosed clinically depressed, this is something that is in our wheelhouse.
Yeah, so it's so funny is like I wrote a joke when I stopped being suicidal. Like, it was a real thing in my life. I was driving my car and I had been taking antidepressants and therapy and everything. And I was like, oh man, because when I used to be so bad that like sometimes I would like talk to myself, and I would just be driving down the road and I'd be like, I want to kill myself. Like I would just
Yeah,
like blurt it
I've
out.
had those before.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But it was so funny is that I was driving my car one day and I was like, oh man, I don't want to kill myself. And I broke down because I was like, that means I have to plan for the future. Like I just
You have, but I honestly, it's weird because when people say like there's certain things you can't joke about, I understand that ideology when it comes to things like racism, like just certain jokes that are racial are funny, but racism itself and some of that stuff I understand, like, yeah, people shouldn't joke about it, but if it's a well-crafted joke, I think and it's funny, I think that you could joke about anything. And the reason I say that is because you've had a string of stuff you do on stage, bits that you have, jokes that you have about suicide. And as someone who's suffered with depression, and this is exactly what I'm talking about from before, as someone who's suffered with depression and had those thoughts, I mean, I've been Baker acted twice. I've got scars all over my body from hurting myself. You can see the scars that go up and down my wrists from when I was younger, and I thought, oh, I'll just end it all. Like, when you say those jokes on stage, they resonate with me 100-fold because I've been in that position, and I'm not going to burn any of them, but it's so, because they're so well crafted and they're funny, but not only that, but they speak to me, which is I envy you in that light because that's something I want to do with my humor. Like I want it to be funny on the surface to everybody, but I also want it for people who've experienced that to hit even harder.
Well, so the first joke I ever wrote that like I figured out was a stand-up joke. Like so most people when you start stand-up, it takes forever to even figure out how to fucking write a joke.
Yeah.
Because you're just so used to office level jokes and they don't function the same way.
Exactly.
It's weird. And it's kind of like they don't feel right. And it's awful now because I used to have like a huge a lexicon of office jokes that I could just tell on like a heartbeat notice. And now that I've done stand up, I can't do those
Yeah,
jokes.
because you're like, oh no, this isn't.
Yeah, I can't tell office style jokes anymore. Like I can't tell a person a joke anymore because I could do jokes on. I could riff, but don't ask me to tell you a joke.
Oh my God, it's the worst.
Oh yeah, but it feels weird. But the first joke I ever wrote, I wrote by accident, and the first joke I wrote, I still use it in my stand-up. Is my doctor asked me recently if I had. My doctor asked me recently if I had any suicidal thoughts, and I was like, no, they're more like instincts.
I love that joke.
No, I accidentally that is something I said and did not mean as a joke. So the true story, and it was really funny. But when I was in my squadron, and I was just horrifically depressed, and there was this guy. Just kind of a nebbish fellow. In the military, there was something called ropes in training. Ropes were like a program that you did that you would put a rope on your uniform if you were like working with the NCOs or something like that. So there was a white rope if you worked with a chaplain, and having a white rope was kind of like it just meant that you were kind of a nebbish fellow. And so we were always back then, I don't know how it is now, but we were always like, hey, suicide's so bad in the military, they would be like, look, if somebody seems suicidal, you press, just go. If they say it, just ask them, do they need to see a therapist?
Yeah.
So I was in the break room of my squadron, and I was just miserable. And the worst part about me is that I can't hide my feelings. Oh God, I hate that.
You and me both.
Oh God, I wish I could just lie about my feelings.
I get so, not to sidetrack, but I get so mad at myself at work because this is I get angry at the drop of a hat, because anger is my biggest emotion that I have to struggle with. Anger and sadness. And so I'll get angry at the drop of a hat, and I always regret, but I will start cussing at my coworkers. I start stomping around, and I'm so frustrated. And then I'm like, I wish I could be like those people who get mad, but then just move on. They're just they just continue to work. I'm like, wait, what do you mean you were pissed? You didn't seem pissed. They go, yeah, because I don't stomp my feet and start cussing everybody out. And I'm like, oh, I'm not supposed to do that?
Oh yeah. That's how we know That's how we know that you and I both were spoiled and bullied at the same
Yeah.
time. That is exactly what happens. You were bullied in school and spoiled at home.
Yeah,
Um,
that is true.
now, don't need a therapy degree. No, but
A therapy degree.
whatever. The thingy, but the thingamajig with the brain thing.
But what happened in the break room? So you're in the break room. People
Yeah.
can tell you're upset.
Oh, and I was just kind of like talking about how life was meaningless and just, and then he goes, well, Nelson, are you suicidal? Are you having suicidal thoughts? Because he had that he did sound like Kermit. He was very sweet, but are you having suicidal thoughts? Barney Fife style. And I was just like, and I just looked at him and I was like, no, they're more like instincts. Because I just was like, because that's really how I felt. Like, I wasn't thinking about suicide. I was like, suicide's my fucking purpose.
Yeah.
Like, I was born to die. I'm just choosing when I do. And, yeah, and he just starts laughing. And then I said that by accident. Like, I just blurted out
Yeah.
the instincts thing. And then he laughed and he goes, like, it's a good joke, Dallas. And I was like, yeah, joke.
Totally kidding. Just
Totally,
kidding.
yeah, totally. And then I wrote it down, and that was literally the first stand-up joke that I wrote that I was like, that's...
So this is years before you even started doing stand-up.
Yeah, this is years before I even did stand-up. Because I had done talent shows once in a while,
Yeah.
but I would just tell book jokes. I'd never really. This was the first time I wrote a joke.
Yeah.
And it was a stand-up joke, and I was like, that's crazy, because you can say it to people, but they'll be scared.
The story of almost my entire set list.
Yeah.
When you say it off of stage to people, they're just like, huh?
Yeah.
That happens to me at work when people are like, oh, you do comedy? Tell us a joke. And I'm like, nope. And they're like, and if they keep pushing, then I'll always throw in the scar story or the joke I have about my uncle or something like that. And then they're always like, oh, and I go, yeah, see, out of context, not funny.
Yeah, no, it's funny. The longer I've been doing stand-up comedy, the less happy I am for people to find out I do stand-up comedy.
That's it. Yeah. Yep. I don't, when I first started, and you've heard me tell this story before because I tell it on stage sometimes, but when I first started, I had done 2 open mics. And then at that point, I'm a comic. I told everybody I was a comedian.
Yeah, you got officially hired at stand-up comic.
Yeah, I was officially hired on my Facebook page at stand-up comedy.
At stand-up comedy. Oh, God. But go on.
I did that, too, back then.
Oh, my God.
I just recently changed it a couple years ago.
No, you were drinking, so you have an excuse.
Yeah, that's true. I was drinking. I actually changed it when I got sober. I was like, what the fuck? And Barry Katz, who I think I've talked about before on this podcast, used to manage, he's one of these super elite managers of comedians and stuff like Dane Cook and stuff like that. And he used to say that, you have to be undeniable. And that was kind of his phrase, was that it doesn't matter if you have a business card or people know your Instagram or, how many YouTube, he goes, if you're undeniable, people will find you. People will find your stand up if you know what I mean? And that made sense to me, and it still makes sense to me to this day. So fast forward now, I've been back into comedy for 3 years. So now I've been doing it in the last 11 years. I've been doing it for on and off for 11 years. But now that I've been really back into it for the last 3, it's weird because now if people ask me about shows, or if they ask me if it comes up with tables, I will tell them oh, well, yeah, I do comedy. A lot of times it happens. We talked about this last week with Scott, when people go, oh, you went to college and you have degrees. Why are you waiting tables? Then I'll pull out I'm pursuing my dream of stand-up comedy. And this is, the schedule is very fluid. So it works.
That's why I work at warehouses right now, is it because it's just one, the thing about it is that you can do your work, and then once you're free of it, the main thing is that if you do a lot of degree level jobs, they're far more demanding on time outside of the workplace.
Absolutely. My older sister's going through it right now. She's been going through it. She's an executive in marketing for a company, and it seems like she's always working, even when she's not at work. She won't take vacations. She works a lot of Saturdays, and I'm like, what? this seems miserable. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I would much rather get paid $13 an hour and be able to do comedy than like $20 an hour and not be able to do comedy.
I'm in the same boat. It's weird because I see some of my friends now. We're all over the place. I should have brought out a notepad. I see some of my friends now on Instagram and like on Facebook and social media. And a part of me is a small, tiny part of me is depressed because they're, buying houses and starting families. And, money's not really a thing for them. And I know social media is like the best version of everybody, but it's like, oh, we took this trip and I bought this for myself. And, oh, we just got a new upgrade on our sound system and TVs and all this. And a part of me is like, man, I wish I would have stayed in. And you know me, I have no filter. So like if I'm talking to a friend of mine from college, I'll be like, so wait, how much are you making now?
Yeah.
Like that's insane to me.
Well, let's both be honest. If you're buying a house at 35, you're not meant to be a stand-up comic.
Yeah.
You're just we are like I let's both be honest about this. Stand-up comics are all self-destructive individuals.
Oh, very
There's
much so.
no because if you think who wants to be a fucking clown? Like who grows up and be like, oh, the guy that people just laugh at? I want to be him.
I want to do that. Me, watching Harmful of Swallowed by Dane Cook or listening to those jokes on the Comedy Central Presents. And he was up there in the tank top and pouring water on himself. And I go, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Me,
yeah.
that's the person, the psycho who carved his own face open to prove a point to a teammate.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, all comedians are self-destructive because comedy innately, because here's the thing, you and I both know this. Being funny is the most cool thing and fun thing ever, but funny being your main thing is shit.
Yeah.
It fucking sucks.
It's the worst. I remember, oh man, I just remember like thinking to myself, like seeing all this stuff on social media with my friends that are now like making good money. And I'm like, and there's, like I said, a tiny part of me that was like, damn, if I would have gotten a regular office job and stuck with it, I would be in one of those high level things right now. But it's just not for me. And I've talked about this a million times on this podcast with you, with Marcus, with Brian, even with Scott, who has a regular office job. I've talked about this with everybody. And it's just one of those things where that's not me. Like when people say, so you want to be extensively poor into your 40s pretty much and do these, have like a makeshift studio in your house to record podcasts and go on stage and sometimes bomb, but sometimes crush. And like, you're just okay with that. And I'm like, there's nothing better. Like, what are you talking? Like, that is life.
Well, that's okay. Two things. One, I don't think there's nothing better. I just think that this is just kind of what I've got left, bud.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I love it.
I love it, but I love it because I kind of have to love it. Like, I like it because I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. I am secretly very pissed at God. Like, I could have picked any other skill set. Like, oh, dude, I would. Oh man.
Like
but
when you're creating your character on Skyrim.
Oh God, yeah. I wish I could totally do different stat allocation, but no. I actually kind of miss bombing. I do. I miss bombing. I think bombing's really nice because the best thing about bombing is that you put all this effort into writing a joke that's going to make someone laugh, and then this room full of strangers looks at something that you devoted your time, your effort to, and then they don't laugh, and you're like, oh, that feeling of being weird and alone is not made up.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Like,
well, it's weird because you know me, I quote movies all the time, and there's this, and sometimes I still get, depending on the show, but there's a lot of times where I still get really nervous before a show.
Oh,
but it's good to like what you're talking about with the bombing thing. Like it's good to feel that. And there's a scene in Get Him to the Greek, that dumb movie that's kind of like a spinoff of Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where he's telling Jonah Hill's character, Russell Brand's character is telling Jonah Hill's character, like, I'm nervous. And he goes, you've done this 1,000 times. Why would you be nervous? And he goes, no. It's good to be nervous. It's good to feel this.
Yeah.
And that's the same way I feel about bombing. That's the same way I feel about a big show. Like, I could do open mics till I'm blue in the face. And I you know what I mean? You pull up, you have your set list, you go up, you do whatever you do, and then you hang out and then you leave. But like when it's a big show or something, or if I'm on stage, like the Dayton show in front of my family, and I'm just dying, I'm like you get off stage and you're miserable. But I don't know. Maybe it's to what you're talking about with this is what we're meant to do, because I feel almost like a comfort in that misery of like, okay, so I know I can do better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like that feeling of being miserable reminds me that like, oh, I can do better than this because I've gotten off stage and felt great before. So the fact that I'm getting off stage miserable is just a reminder that I can be better.
Well, and it's also, I don't know. I think the thing about it that's nice is that, one, bombing is kind of nice because if you can't get past a bomb it's so bad, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. You'll get into this rut where it's bombs in a row.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, and it's weird because it throws you off for this loop
because you think everything sucks.
Yeah, you think everything sucks. You have so many bombs in a row, and then you start doing this thing where you're like, oh wait, what's going on? And then like you just get into your head so much that you forget what you're doing, and
Yeah.
instead of like actually focusing on doing it, you're thinking about doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like once you get too into your head, you can't do it, and you just got to let it go. But it is nice. It is nice to be miserable and be like, yeah, it's just not made up, bud. Like
Yeah.
I like bombing because I'm just like, oh shit, yeah. Like the fact that I can have this moment where I am just eating a dick of just pure loneliness, and I'm coming back. I'm supposed to be doing this.
Yeah, well, and that's my point. Yeah,
'Cause it's
that's a great point
awful.
because I've talked about that before. I think I talked about it with Emily on the show. Was that like the difference between not the only difference, but a big difference between people who like want to try stand up and people who continue to pursue stand up are the people when you're put in those shitty situations in a room that whatever happens, but you end up bombing. But then someone asks you a month later, hey, do you want to do this room again? And you're like, fuck yeah, rock and roll. Let's do it.
Let's do this. I'm going to go into this room that I ate a dick in.
Because I've met comics or I've met people who do comedy who have been like, who have said like, oh no, I don't do that room and I don't do this room because those don't really play to my strengths. Like these are the kind of jokes I do, so I stay away from those kind of rooms. And in my head, I'm like, well then, so you're basically only performing at a certain venue for people who you invited to come to see you, and the other people on the show invited people. So it's basically a bringer show. And then you get a lot of laughs because these are all friends and family and stuff. But you won't do any other show because you can't handle the bomb.
Oh, dude, can I just say something? I am so fortunate. And like, when I said that, like, I imagine life differently, like if I had made different choices, and I always just imagine I would kill myself if I made other choices. But I was so depressed when I first started comedy in the military. I did like 4 or 5 shows at these open mics, and people always thought it was funny, but I never wanted anybody to come.
Yeah.
I never did a bringer show. So for anybody that wants to do stand-up, my biggest tip would be is don't invite your friends until like 6 months or a year in.
Yeah.
Because you know what happens, and I see it like a ton of
You see it all the time.
Oh, yeah. You see it all the time, is that you get somebody that's actually pretty talented, that's got like something going for them. Because most people are funny. And they go on.
I hate that you say that.
Yeah, most people are funny.
I know. You just talked about this last time.
Yeah,
too.
no, you just want to feel special.
I know. I do.
And you aren't, Brennan, just because you cut your face. No, most people can say something funny if they try, but these people do these bringer shows, and like, hey, like you said, Deborah here likes to put fish in the microwave. Oh my god!
Yeah, they crush, destroy.
Yeah, just destroy, because you're talking to friends, obviously, which is party riffing, which everybody does great at.
Everybody does it after a couple of drinks.
Dude, there's always, and everybody has one moment where they've done party riffing. Oh, dude, party riffing's the greatest. Oh, man, that's what I miss about drinking, is being that right level of drunk where you're just holding and telling like a funny story and 5 people are laughing their
And
ass.
you're holding court for everybody.
Yeah. But anyway, just never do a bringer show until like you've been a year in. Because the thing is is one, those people already think you're funny, so you're not really proving anything. And then two, you have this idea of what laughter feels like.
Yeah, you get a disproportionate idea of what going on stage is.
Yeah, because nobody's gonna give a shit about you when you're talking to strangers. They're
Yeah.
not. Yeah,
Especially in a bar.
Yeah.
When they're all trying to like drink and hang out with their friends, and then you do ambush comedy.
Yeah. They're never. Yeah, they're not gonna care about you. So I just within like I'm trying to think in Jacksonville in like 2 years, I probably saw like 7 different guys that did a bringer show. And then they like just trailed off because they did the bringer show. And then after they did the bringer show, they were like, wait a minute, comedy's just eating a dick most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, comedy's just really like, the guys that get paid to be boxers that weren't good at fighting. They just were good at getting hit.
Yeah.
They're
Jobbers.
Jobbers. Comedians are just jobbers for life.
Yeah. No, that's true. But that's the thing too, that and now I preface every show with that. The joke that I now open with, I even say, or the second joke that I do at a lot of shows, I even say, listen, I'm going to tell stories. A lot of my comedy is stories, and not all of you are going to get it. And that's okay. I don't expect all of you to get it because I talk about some pretty intense things, but I don't need all of you.
Yeah, that
I
sounds like
just
you're
need
bad
a few
at
of you.
comedy.
But that's the thing. I am bad at comedy, but
No.
I keep doing it. But that's the thing is like, and I've said this a million times on this show, but Kyle Kinane, who's a very hilarious comedian that I really look up to, he says this on his podcast, The Boogie Monster, all the time. He says, I don't need all of you. I just need enough to fill up a room. Like, I don't need everybody. So, like, when people, like, write him, like, oh, you shouldn't say that joke because of this, he's like, fuck off. Then don't be my fan anymore because I don't need you. And when I heard him say that, I kind of took it to heart because I've gotten off stage before and people go, oh, that's pretty intense or that's pretty, like, on the line or something like that. And I'm like, I used to let it get to me and be like, maybe I should tone all this down. And then I've gotten off stage before and people are like, dude, that was fucking awesome. And I'm like, yeah, I want those people.
Yeah.
The people who tell me it's too intense, especially to the point that you're making. We're doing it in front of strangers.
Yeah.
So I want to get to the point, obviously, through the podcast and just through stand-up of doing it in front of people who kind of understand who I am, because then they get it.
Yeah.
The hardest part right now with, other than the COVID, the hardest part with comedy is a lot of the shows that we do are in front of strangers. So if they don't know you, or if they don't understand like your inner workings, like you've done some of those suicide jokes, and I've been in the room where they like people are like, "That you can't joke about that kind of stuff," and it's like, yes, you can, because that was a funny joke, but like,
well, and I don't know. I think that's also like there's a weird climate right now with joking. I don't know, because I like writing jokes about suicide because the fact is that to me is that. I just did comedy because of the fact that I was just so depressed in the first place. So it is like, because innately, suicide's kind of funny to me. Like, it just is. Like, I mean, think about it for a moment. As people, we're supposed to fuck, eat shit, and then die, but you want to do the dying first? Like, what? Like, no, that's funny.
it's backwards.
It's backwards. Why do you want to die? The Christmas presents are gonna be opened eventually. Like, you don't have to go into the closet. Death will come. Like, don't spoil it, Jesus. And then once you die, you're gonna have to pretend like you're excited. Like, that's God's gift to you. He ends the suffering.
Super light episode this week.
People, because they're, you joke about anything because the whole point why we're comics is because we all, obviously nobody learns the skill to be funny unless it's a coping method. Yeah. It's a coping method and mechanism. It's a thing that you do. Like I started becoming funny because I was bullied. Like,
me too.
Yeah, like when you're bullied, like, oh dude, oh man, they're trying hard to end bullying and they're just gonna kill comedy.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. That's a Chris Buck joke. Look up Chris Buck. He's a much better comic than I am.
At Stouffer Buck.
At Stouffer Buck. Yeah, we're gonna God, fucking.
He got a quote tweeted by Kevin Hart.
Well, oh yeah, yeah. Let's not talk about other people. That's sad.
Yeah.
Just actually edit that whole out.
Oh, I'm not. You know I don't edit on this.
Oh,
Unless you
God.
call me at 2 a.m. to say, "Hey, don't forget to take that name out."
I didn't call you. I sent you a text.
Okay, that's
You're
true.
welcome.
But I wanted to touch on something real quick that you said, and then we have to get into your move because I do have to go to work eventually, so we can't run that long today. But you said something that was very interesting to me about bombing in a row and how you can get into your own head and stuff. And I wanted to just make the point, I guess, that I've done that on stage with my set. So not bombing like I bombed this show, I bombed that show, like I've done that before. But in my set, like if the first couple of jokes bomb, I do that same thing that you're talking about, but condensed, like in that set where I'll get in my own head and I'm like, wait a second. I've worked on these. I think these are funny. They've gotten laughs before. Why isn't this working? Then all of a sudden I'm thinking about doing the thing. And then it just makes the set worse. So I don't know. I just thought that was what you were talking about earlier. I just thought that was interesting.
Well, just kind of add to that. Like, what a lot of people don't know about timing and how timing really works is that this sounds like gay bullshit to say, but as a comedian, what you're really doing is that you're working with people's laughter. You're working with a crowd's laughter, because you listen for how they laugh and how they react, and then that's what develops your timing. By changing your jokes and how you deliver those jokes, you are adjusting it to the laugh. That's how you get a crowd going.
Yeah.
is by you get them into the tempo of laughing, because once you get somebody to laugh, then they start laughing at other things, because laughter kind of builds. So really, it's that's what timing is. Timing isn't just delivering jokes in a way. Timing is also being able to manage a crowd's laughter and how they feel. So when you get nervous, what ends up happening and what causes a bomb is that sometimes your jokes just aren't going to land, right?
Yeah.
But
happens.
when you get into your head and you get that fear thing, it messes up your timing, because what you're doing is you're putting in a space because you forget to kind of naturally do it, because everyone has their own natural timing.
Mhm.
And when you knock your own clock out of sync, and really what you do is that it's a record scratch. It really is.
Yep.
Like when you get into your head, you put that you're just literally knocking the table with the record over. You're like
Yeah.
that's what it is. Because it's very thin, that tempo, that timing, to get a crowd to really roar, to like really get them with you. It's tempo, it's timing. You figure out
The cadence in which you're delivering everything.
yeah, the cadence. It's not just the content of what you're saying, it's how you're saying it, it's when you're saying it.
Because I've had shows go awesome, and I've gotten the light, and I've been like, I feel like I've only been up here for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
And just riffing with the crowd and rolling one joke right into the next joke. Because I tell stories, so I can like literally roll one story into the next, and you're like, man, this is good. And then you see the light and you're like, damn, man, I feel like I just got up here. We're cooking, baby.
Oh, yeah. And then when you're bombing.
Oh, my God. It's like, where the fuck is the light?
Oh, dude. I grew up on that farm, and bull riding is 8 seconds. And they always say, like, the longest 8 seconds in your life. It's like, dude, 5 minutes bombing is just, oh. And look how nice it is. We live in Florida where we can bomb in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
If we lived in fucking anywhere else, like California where I'm moving to, you don't get to bomb for 5 minutes. They just kick you off.
Yep, light you right up.
They light you right up.
Speaking of California, that was a fantastic segue. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome.
You are moving. We talked about this on the last episode, and that came up quick because I remember being like, you said you're going to move towards the end of November, and I was like, all right, we got plenty of time. Like, we're going to record another episode. And then I texted you the other day, and I was like, oh shit, like when exactly are you moving? And you were like, this week. And I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Well, so the reason I'm doing it is that, when I left the military, I was kind of lost. I was dealing with PTSD and all that. Remember, guys, the really light episode. I was dealing with a lot of heavy stuff.
I'm sorry. Go on.
No, you're good. You're good. You act like a stand-up comic is not happy that I made you laugh.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
true.
no. Oh, no. Someone thought I was funny. That hurts. No, no.
How rude.
How rude. Yeah. No, I left the military and I limped out basically. I wasn't kicked out. My contract came to an end, but they wouldn't even let me re-enlist because I had all these issues going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I got back to the South, and I over living here, I kind of realized, oh wait, I joined the military to leave this place.
Yeah.
Like I kind of had forgotten that I really did. I like the South, which is a weird thing to say. The South is the most miserable and sad part of America. It is brutally sad and just ridiculously sad. Just sad. It's sad. The South is sad. And I joined the military to leave. So I don't. My lease came up. And dude, COVID year has been awful. Everybody in 2020 is not enjoying themselves. So I also had the worst experience where I was living with two other stand-up comics, and none of us are doing comedy. So it's just the grody-ness of comedy living
without any stand-up.
Without any of the stand-up. So it's just like, my lease was coming up, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was just like, yeah, come out. And so I just decided to say, fuck it. I don't really have anything going on right now.
So you're going back to the part of California where you were in the military yet?
Yeah, well, for a little bit. I'm just going to stay there for like a month or so. And
Okay.
then I'm moving down to Oceanside or San Diego. Kind of.
Okay.
I don't know how California works because I think they just say that cities that are close to the cities are also the cities.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, but
it's like everything around Jacksonville is Jacksonville.
Yeah, everything. Like I can say I'm from Jacksonville, but I'm from Stark. But
nobody knows what Stark is.
Yeah, nobody knows what Stark
is. So like,
is.
Tony?
Yeah, Tony. Yeah, God.
Iron Man joke. Boom.
Ooh.
Are you I think because originally when I had spoken to you, this was probably a year ago when you were talking about moving. I thought you were going out there to continue to work for
the FBI.
Yeah,
I did get an FBI job offer, but so here's the thing: like when you're a linguist in the military and you have a top secret clearance, which I do. Well, I did. Sorry, my clearance lapsed because they're based off of like a 5-year thing, so I have to redo my whole investigation and everything. A lot of contracting positions open up to you. Especially as somebody that's like an Iranian linguist and everything. And so, but the thing is that, have you ever tried to fill out an Excel spreadsheet when you're suicidal? It's guys, you can't do it.
No, I have not.
You can't do it. Something about I know this sounds so. Here's the I'm moving from the South, but I do fully embrace that I am country because there's part of me that whenever I do office work, I'm just like, how the hell are you going to look at the picture box and not feel it? Like when I dig a post hole, I want to feel like I dug a post hole.
Yeah.
Like there is like a thing, like a part of my brain that whenever I do anything office related, like if I can't see work being done, my brain is just like, why are you even doing this?
Yeah, so like when everything's in the computer and all that kind of stuff, it's just like
yeah, and then all those buildings are like pitch black, no windows, and it's always like and anytime you do a job like that, it's your life is not your life.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing about the military or any kind of that kind of work. It's intense, it's brutal, it's very demanding. It pays great, but it's brutal, it's demanding, and it's also I would go crazy if I did anything like that. So I thought I was going to move out there for that.
Yeah, because I was under that impression that you were going out there for that.
Yeah, but then I just kind of decided I just want to move out there.
Just to go?
Just to go.
Beautiful.
I know we're probably going to have just another pandemic in 2021, and this is all just going to be our lives forever now. But, I just kind of want to go somewhere where I can do an open mic a night. Like literally, like, because one, it's been so rough this year because one of the things is that I primarily write on stage, which is like horrible for for COVID.
Yeah.
I do.
Scott and I were talking about that last week.
Yeah, I write on stage. Like I do write at home, and I write a lot. I'm probably like I write every day, and I've written every day for 4 or 5 years now. I love writing comedy, but the thing is that performing on stage is how I write. I write on stage because there's just something there in that tempo for me
Yeah.
that I just kind of feel more, and I like it makes it so much easier for me to write on stage because once you get like that movement, that going of it, it helps. It's kind of a performance, like a little bit of a dance, and I really have written all of my best jokes that I have felt proud of writing. Really, just came out from that.
Yeah.
And writing on stage, and I miss writing on stage so fucking much.
Well, the problem that I've run into is I'm very long-winded when I write at home, but I try to because I will write out every part of the story, and because it's a story that happened to me, a lot of times I'm like, oh, that's super funny. Oh, that's hilarious. Like, pause for laughter. Ha ha ha. That's gonna be so good,
dude.
And then I get on stage and it eats a dick, and I'm like, oh, this is too long. This is too long-winded. This is too too many details that don't matter. And then all of a sudden I'm like, and then I'll do it like 2 or 3 more times, but I'll keep cutting shit out. And then, like you said, I rewrite it on stage, and then it's funny, and then I can work with it.
Yeah.
But if I just got on stage after writing, like in the COVID situation, it would be like a TED Talk for 40 minutes.
Which, both of us are long-winded.
Yeah.
Naturally. It's because we're pompous.
We are both very pompous.
Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know this, the thing about Brennan that's really funny is the reason Brennan is long-winded, and this is my diagnosis as a friend, is that...
As someone with a therapy degree.
As someone with a therapy degree, from the therapy place. No, Brennan's long-winded because of the fact that he knows he's smart, but he doesn't want to be like, I'm smart. He wants people to be like, no, he's smart. And that's why he's long-winded.
That's a very good assessment. I probably do that subconsciously because a lot of times I keep talking to prove a point just so people are like, wow, he really proved that point.
Yeah. You got that like law degree, like our shark style, like I've got to win this case.
Yeah. Well, my dad always taught me life is a zero sum. There's winners and there's losers.
Oh, man. That is sad.
What?
No, that's literally Ricky Bobby. If you ain't first, you're last.
Yeah,
like,
I firmly believe. No, I'm just
no.
I'm very happy for the success of my peers in comedy. I don't believe that it is a zero-sum game. I said that as a joke. I'm so happy for everyone and all their newfound success during the pandemic.
You hate it.
Don't hate it.
No. Yeah, no, I'm excited to move out.
But what are you gonna do? What's the haves? You're just gonna go out there, do comedy, and just
probably work on a warehouse. I love working on warehouses, man. Yeah. It's really nice. You pick things up and you put it down, and they pay you.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, because originally I remember when we were talking about this, you had your set location, and I was under the impression it was because of the job. Now, when you move out there with your friend, you still plan on going to Oceanside?
Yeah. So I'm just going to be living in Monterey for a month or two, and then I'll move down to Oceanside. And...
I didn't know if there was a reason why you picked Oceanside now that you're not doing it for
the
no,
job. I just have a support net there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm smart enough to actually have a support net. Like I have a close family. One of my best friends in the military is there, so it's kind of having like a support net, like someone absolutely. That I can talk to, because I know myself well enough to be like, oh shit, that's probably a bad idea to go out and do it alone.
Yeah.
I mean, I am scared, like absolutely terrified. Super duper frightened because it's a change, and honestly, it'd just be much easier to just stay here.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, anything worth doing is going to be hard. If it was easy, it would just be the way.
Yeah, but this is the way.
What's that line from Road Trip? It's called a shortcut. If it was easy, it would just be the way.
The way. Oh, really? Yeah. Man, I just love that you have a photographic memory for bad movies.
That's not a bad movie.
Road Trip. Well, what have you listed in this conversation? You're like Road Trip. Like, Brennan, you have like the best memory for
They're relevant quotes.
They're relevant. But I don't know. It's just like watching somebody.
That quote from Get Him to the Greek, it's good to feel nervous, had everything to do with what you were talking about.
Well, one time I read, and the babysitter's Diners Club.
In fried green tomatoes, there was a fantastic.
Oh, dude, fried green tomatoes. Oh man, I remember watching that movie, and it's like you can tell like some white lady was mad that The Color Purple was not about her when they made that movie. That's why that movie got made.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's a weird side bit, but
Anyway, so Monterey to San Diego, which is German, means the whale's vagina.
Okay, no, we're not doing a movie podcast. Stop. No.
That's from Anchorman. All right. Anyway,
no.
we've got some time left. I want to talk about you when you came on. You said, "What do you want to talk about? Drinking stories or anything like that?" But I just wanted to see how Dallas was doing today, right now. How Dallas is doing.
I'm doing fine. I need to get some work done on my car, so that's kind of like the worst.
Are you driving out there?
Yeah, I'm driving out there. I'm probably gonna do like a 3-day thing.
Yeah.
Because the cool thing about like military is I got kind of friends everywhere, so it's kind of nice in that.
Are you going north or south across the country, like through the Midwest or through Texas in the South?
I think I'm gonna go south through Texas.
I've got to set up some shows.
Yeah, I probably should. I need to print out some posters and stuff. Maybe, yeah, I'll do that. I'll print out some posters and stuff. I've been doing like some merchandising ideas. Is just like I like to do collage work with glue, and like magazine stuff.
Yeah, and people's skin. Yeah.
And people's skin. Oh no, I'm joking. Their blood. No, I was thinking about like making some posters and everything. Like the big thing I'm doing like merch right now is I have a friend that owns a 3D printer, and he's like doing what's called lithographs, these little keychains that you put a light through and you can kind of see like a message.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like it, but I don't know. Merchandising's weird because you got to think about like worthless shit people want.
Yeah, it's really weird because I have that bit about the national anthem. And I was like, oh, I want to turn this into a shirt. Like, I think this would be a great shirt. But then it's like, the quote's too long for the shirt. But then, like, the idea I have in my head as a picture, I'm not a graphic designer or really an artist on paper. So it's, like, hard for me to design. And I, like, sent it out to a few graphic designers that I know. One of them never got back to me. A few others, I just didn't like the design. And so it's like, well, I have this idea for merch, and it's worthless, but I think people would buy it, but I just can't materialize it.
Yeah, well, so it's so funny is that like once you have a gauge for what merch is, there's like a weird thing where it sucks, but I know what bad merch looks like, but I don't know how to make good merch yet.
Yeah.
Like that's the worst part about it. Because you got to like figure out how to do it. And like one, like unless your jokes are like really quippy, there would be like a great thing. Like I wish I could make my jokes more like perfect for merchandising.
Yeah.
But I can't do like it's just like I'm good at blowjobs because I hate my dad. Like I love I mean I could probably that would be a good shirt.
But the funniest part about that joke is the sentence after that.
Yeah, it was a like I don't know. Yeah, but father issues do make you good at blowjobs. Is the joke is because if you think about it, all a blowjob is it's getting a male figure to look down at you and smile, and that's obviously something you would do.
Great.
Yeah, you're doing great. Like, and I yell, and because obviously nobody would get good at blowjobs if like their father loved them. Like, it's just. No, that's not a skill you develop.
That's not.
It's not a skill you develop. Like, oh no.
I'm trying to get better. And the other thing too is like I don't like whenever I get on stage and people like Rena Calm, who's a touring comedian, she had great merch. She had like a little suitcase, and then in that suitcase
awesome.
she had the little like sign with the light. She had a book that I guess you can just go to Amazon Publishing and like design a book, and then they'll literally print it on demand for people who order it.
Yeah.
So like she had a book that she had done and everything, and I was like, and she had like a mugs and all sorts of like just little things like knickknacks, but it's like, oh, that's fucking super smart, like to have it all in that one place. And then not only that, but it's not shirts. It's not like, oh, here's a shirt with a joke on it. Like it was a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And that's I think what's interesting for people was they're like, oh, I'm not going to get a T-shirt that I'll probably wear twice. Like, I'm going to get a book and I'll put this on the coffee table and then everyone can see it.
Yeah, I was thinking about something I've been toying around with the book is that the Comprehensive Guide to Understanding Joke Writing and Structure by Dallas James Nelson. And I wanted to do this book where I took like really dumb level jokes and just spent like hours
Breaking them down.
Yeah, like I did sentence. I have a couple of pages of it already where I like. I think the first one is just like pull my finger. And then I like really broke it down with sentence diagramming where it was like, understood you, pull, action, fingers, direct object, adjacent descriptor. And I was like, this joke is funny. Like I wanted to do like a full, like paragraphical, like just super, and I want it to be just awful jokes. Like I wanted to do one where I did like, what's the difference between a gay man and a freezer? A freezer doesn't fart when you pull the meat out. That's a great joke, by the way, guys. No, it's just awful. Like, and I want to do like full, like I break that,
not just only breaking down the joke, but the syntax and everything like that.
Yeah, like just full like actual scientific analysis. Well, not scientific, obviously, literary analysis. I'm a fucking idiot. But no, I wanted to do the Comprehensive Guide to Understanding Joke Writing and Structure, because I really want somebody, like I had a dream that one day somebody that's autistic is going to unironically buy that book. And that's my dream. They're like, oh no, I get it now.
This makes total sense.
Because, never explain a joke, but I think that sometimes explaining jokes is really funny to me.
Yeah.
Because the true story, when I was in the military, one of the funniest things that I remember that was just absolutely fucking hilarious was when I was in Al Udeid, which is in Qatar or whatever, and I was air crew, so I was friends with the Brits, the RAF, and we got invited over to their pub, which when you're at Al Udeid, you had 3 alcoholic drink tokens, but at the British pub they don't have 3 tokens, they have unlimited. So if you were friends with the Brits, you could get drunk.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went to the British pub to hang out with like the Brits. And this guy, this really sweet looking guy, just tells me the awkwardest joke I've ever heard in my life. And he goes, "Oh, you're very funny. I am a bit of a comedian myself. The chaps, they have this thing where, when the ceremony, right? The youngest person before the ceremony begins, we have ceremonies, the youngest chap is supposed to tell a joke, and I am quite a singer. It is why is Popeye, Popeye the sailor. Why is Popeye so happy all the time? Why is Popeye so happy?
Why?
Because he dips his wick in olive oil. You see, olive oil. And he sits there for a moment after he says this, and then he looks at me, and in just this really delightful upper received I don't know anything about English accents, but he's just, well, so olive oil is Popeye's wife or girlfriend, really. I'm not quite certain, because Pluto. Olive oil is a woman, and olive oil also, it's a food thing. And he has sex with her.
So he just went on trying to explain it.
And it was so funny, because the fact was, it's like, I'm just sitting, because I didn't laugh because it took me a moment, because I was like, oh, and it was cute, but he was just you know, like just watch it. Yeah, just watching a British guy awkwardly talk about sex for like 3 minutes because he was just like, sex. He has sex. like he just.
It's his wife. It could be his girlfriend. I don't, because Bluto.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be great? Like, hey, why is Popeye so happy? Because he fucks.
Boom.
Yeah, because he fucks. Like, that's great. All joke writing breakdown. That's gonna be in my book. It's like
that should be in your book.
Popeye's happy because he fucks.
Yeah. You should really break down. I did a show a couple weeks ago, and it was an open mic, and there was a guy that was on it, and he was trying to be like edgelordy, but he was just basically doing a bunch of jokes about like jokes that you would read out of that book, that Friars Club book right there that you just pulled off my bookshelf.
A Friars Club joke book, but go on.
But it was just interesting because he was trying to be like edgelord, and I'm looking around at the other comics and some of the people in the audience, and I'm like, you guys know he didn't write these, right? Like these are from like a joke book, you know what I mean? Like a lot of like dead baby kind of jokes and stuff like that.
Oh,
and I'm like,
man.
But I'm like, and like sex jokes and shit, but not like, when I say sex jokes, I mean like over the top kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
when we talk about our penis, it's art.
Yeah, exactly. It's well crafted art.
Yeah,
but
it's well crafted art.
He was just doing like almost like these like knock jokes, really. And I was just like looking around, and people are laughing, and I'm like, wait, you've all heard these before. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, so though that comedy, it's funny. My sister is a hot girl, so obviously she's bad at comedy. No, I'm kidding. But for any girls that are really pretty, that I noticed that there's this thing where they have the problem, and this is how you know I'm a sad white guy because I hate women. No, but I've noticed that a lot of girls have problems writing jokes from that because guys are told to laugh at them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like telling a manager to write a joke. Oh, no, never mind. I'm not. Take this back. It sounds sexist. I didn't want to talk about this. No, I meant, yeah, whatever. But my sister was telling me something really funny where she goes, as a comic, you're supposed to speak truth to power. And I was like, what the fuck are you saying? As a comic, you're supposed to do things that are funny.
Yeah.
Like it's just, so you could go up on stage and read some Friars Club jokes. All right. Oh, God. What's the difference between an Israelite and an Israeli?
I don't know what.
About 30 calories. What?
Oh.
That's actually really cute. I love that. God.
You can borrow that if you want.
No, that means I would have it.
Yeah.
I'm leaving.
You could take it for your new book.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This would be perfect for your book.
Yeah,
You could break down every single joke that's in there.
Yeah, actually, that would be a great
That's a
idea.
gift. It's a going away gift.
Thank you so much, Brennan.
Of course.
I think should we end it on that?
Yeah, we should. Dallas, we are going to miss you here in Jacksonville. You know I love you more than anything in the world.
Oh, thank you.
You want to plug everything one more time?
Yeah, look me up, Dallas James Nelson, on Facebook. On Instagram, it's Atlas_vaped. And on Twitter, it's Your Mom's House.
Shout out Tom Segura. And Christina Pajitsky. All right. This was another edition of Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Thank you so much for joining us. You can follow me on all social media at Brennan T Comedy. I have a bunch of dates that I booked coming up, so check out my website, BrennanTComedy.com. I'm coming to Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, a lot of stuff going on. Thank you so much again for listening. We love you all. If you have anything you want to say to me, Brennan Tassif at BrennanTComedy.com. Again, that's Dallas James Nelson, and I'll talk to you all next week.
Thank you.